Shalom and welcome to Questions and Answers with Rabbi Eric T. Last week I did a video about hell. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe it was informative toward you, and if it was, that you would share it with other people. But in it I mentioned that I was going to talk about a question about hell, or possibly about hell, that comes from 1 Peter chapter 3. So let's look at 1 Peter chapter 3, and I'm going to begin reading from verse 18. It says, "For Messiah once suffered for sins also, the righteous for the unrighteous, in order to bring you to God. He was put to death in the flesh, but made alive by the Ruach. Through the Ruach he also went and preached to the spirits in prison. Long ago they disobeyed, while God kept waiting patiently in the days of Noah, as the ark was being built. In that ark, a few, that is 8 souls, were brought safely through the water. Corresponding to that, immersion now brings you to safety, not the removal of dirt from the flesh, but a pledge to God and a good conscience through the resurrection of Messiah. He has gone into heaven and is at the right hand of God, with angels and authorities and powers subjected to him." So there are a lot of people who look at these verses and they read this verse that says, through the Ruach, he also went and preached to the spirits in prison. And they come to a couple of conclusions. The first one is, did YESHUA go to hell and preach to people who, according to the next verse, were disobedient to God in the times of Noah, even though God was patient with them? Now, there are those that say, yeah, that must be what this means. It must be that YESHUA went to hell, preached to these people. But what did he preach? If they were disobedient and already judged, why would he go to preach to them only? For instance, he could have also preached to the rebellious people in Korach's rebellion, or to those who died in the wilderness because of disobedience in other ways, or disobedient people throughout the centuries before Messiah. Why would he only go to one group of people and preach to them? And if he preached to them, could they then be saved even though they died in disobedience? These questions should make you immediately come to the conclusion that that couldn't be what this is saying, because God doesn't preach to someone who's lost and then either give them an opportunity to be saved out of lostness, or he would have to do that for everybody, or he wouldn't preach to them just to go, na, 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 you're lost and you're never going to go to heaven. You know, that's not the character or nature of God to do either of those things. So this has to be talking about something else. And what he's talking about here is this connection between the people that were preached to in Noah's day by the Spirit of God. In other words, when YESHUA's Spirit is the same Spirit as the Spirit of God. So when Noah preached to them, he was preaching YESHUA to them, even though YESHUA had not yet come, because YESHUA was sacrificed from the foundation of the earth. So the sacrifice of YESHUA was taking place at the very beginning of time, even though it hadn't come to pass in time. The second thing we have to understand is that there's a connection between the corresponding of being saved by water and being saved by water. In other words, Noah and those that went with him were saved because they went through the water, just as you and I, when we come to faith in Messiah, have him preach to us. YESHUA is preached to us, or YESHUA preaches to us through his Spirit, because it's God's Spirit, the Spirit of God that calls us and draws us and speaks to our heart. Someone else may be giving the message. I may be teaching you right now, but hopefully it's the Spirit of God that's actually preaching to you and reaching your heart. And likewise, when we receive that, we go through the waters of immersion, just as Noah and the people on the ark went through the waters in his day. And the like way they were saved by the water, we are saved. Not because they got in the boat because they were faithful to God, and likewise not because we got in the water, but because we have a clear conscience toward God, because we obeyed his word and the things that he taught. Same way the children of Israel left Egypt, went through the Red Sea, and that's another symbol of immersion and our faithfulness to God's word. So YESHUA did not go into hell and preach to lost souls to save them from hell. It's saying that his Spirit preached through Noah to the people of that day, and those people even then were disobedient to the calling of the Lord, even though they had the opportunity to be saved. just as many of people that are watching this video right now are still not yet being obedient to the Lord, even though His Spirit is speaking to them right now. And I'm praying that if you're watching this and you're not yet a believer in Yeshua, that you will come to faith in Him, that you'll listen to His voice, not mine, that His Spirit will preach to you in prison and set you free, just as He took the keys of death and hell and set all men free. I hope this helps answer the question for you, and I hope that if you have a question, you'll email me at raveric@britom.org. That's RAVERIC@britom.org, and that you'll subscribe to this video channel so you'll know when we make future videos. Also, share this video with others if it was a blessing, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Shalom.